Showtime! The Capital G Show starts right now.
What's up YouTube, Capital G here. So guys, I'm talking YCS Austin, Texas in this video, and I'm going to be doing some of my more bold predictions. Now, I haven't done this series in quite some time, so for those of you guys who are newer to my channel, let me just give you a breakdown of how the series works. Basically, I give you guys some predictions for the event. I tell you guys what I expect to happen, and then after the event and the weekend is over, we backtrack and we see how things ultimately panned out. Now, at the beginning of formats, and I've said this dozens of times in my channel's history, I feel like this is the peak time for rogue decks to flourish, because outside of the assumed, nothing is really established. I mean, you may have 2 or 3 decks that people just have it in their mind, like these are tier 1 decks, or X deck is the best deck. You know, right now I would obviously say that Mermail, Mermail, Atlantean, Water, whatever you want to call it, is what most people have set in their mind as to be the best deck, and there may be a couple of decks that they think are tier 1. So I really do feel like right now, when it comes to picking a winner for this event, it's ultimately Mermail versus the field. I mean, there don't seem to be a lot of really strong contenders, but I'm going to go over that list. Alright, let me just start the video off by saying I do believe that Mermail are going to take the most top spots in the top 32, because I think the deck is going to be the most played deck in the event. I mean, I think that Fire Fists are going to have a much better showing than they did at Miami. I think that a lot of people hadn't tested the deck thoroughly. Wind-up loops were probably a little too much for them. But, Fire Fists have been topping consistently a lot. The deck makes pluses like nobody's business. And I still feel like the deck is really lacking that just broken play. Like, when you look at some of the other decks around the format, whether it be like Mermails or, some of the other stronger decks like Dark World with their E-Virus plays after they look in your hand and card destruction and all that shit, I kind of feel like Fire Fists are underpowered when it comes to just, oh my god, broken plays. So I still think that they'll have a strong top 32. I think that they'll probably end up with about 3 decks in top 32, which is still 3 times as much as they had in Miami, where only 1 player ended up topping that event. I think that Inzektors, I really like the deck, but I've been testing the deck consistently, and I've been struggling against bad decks. I mean, it struggles way too much with Mermail Atlantean. I've tested that match in and out, and a lot of times you basically have to OTK them to win game 1. It really feels like you have to put all your resources on the board, and it feels like they don't really have to exhaust much resources at all to basically keep you pinned down. I feel like the deck needs stronger opening plays before I can really pick it to make some big noise. Now, windups, I don't know what to do with this deck. Like, I don't know what to make of this, because personally, I don't think the deck is that great. I think that it's undersized. I think the deck has little to no removal. Without Factory, you really struggle to make easy pluses, which, I mentioned decks like Inzektors and Fire Fist can do in their sleep. I feel like, depending on who you ask, this deck is either ass or it's, arguably the second best deck in the format. Like, that's how wide of a variety you'll get when you ask people, what do you think of windups right now? It's all over the place. When I look at windups, I personally don't see it. I think that Mermail have easily surmounted you in that head-to-head matchup to where, you used to dominate that. Now I don't think you're even close. Unless you can get Shockmaster on board really, really fast, or make Abyss Dweller really, really fast. But I think that somebody out there is going to play their ass off, because you still have a lot of good duelists who have not dropped the deck that continue to play it. I think that the deck is extremely versatile in the side deck, and I think that one deck is going to top 8, because somebody out there is like, fuck you, Capital G, I'm going to show you. I think that Samurai have enough derp to win this event, but I think that they're going to just be held down by Mermail. Like, game 1, you just get shit on by that deck because Shien just does nothing. But the deck still has Gateway, it still has United, it still has like a lot of different crazy OTKs that can come out of nowhere. I just feel like Mermail is going to hold the deck down. So I couldn't see it doing anything past top 32, but I don't even think it's going to top 32. Alright, here's one of the decks that I'm kind of excited about. Herbatic. Like, I feel like that deck is going to top 8 this event. It's super aggressive playstyle, throws people completely off guard. And this is a format where we're just littered with decks that play bad defense. No one wants to play defense. It's like Fire Fist play defense, Rabbit plays defense, And everybody else is like, well, what's a bottomless? What's a compulse? Like, nobody else plays good defense. Mermail, Prophecy, Dark World, they don't play good defense. You know, so I look at this deck and it's like your OTKs got even more consistent with Volcasaurus. And lastly, Paul Cooper's playing this at this event. I feel like if there were like 4 or 5 really good Heradic players who were going to this event, I'd pick this deck the top 4. I still don't think that there's much anti-meta or, excuse me, side deck hate out for this deck. I feel like people don't know how to play against it, and I just feel like it has that shock value to it. You know, like I didn't expect to play Heretics in round 8 when I'm undefeated, so I feel like Heradic will top 8 this event. I think that my sleeper, my dark horse for this event is Karakuri. I'm talking like the really fast E-teleport, almost like OTK-ish. You know, the deck started seeing some play in Japan, a little lightning in the bottle there. But I feel like, is it me or is Karakuri right now, the fast version, just like a machine version of Heradic? Like, it puts all its damage on the board extremely fast, and I don't really see a lot of people playing Maxi and Effect Veiler right now, so that only bodes even better for them. And I think a lot of duelists out there have forgotten how powerful the Naturia Synchros are. You know, Naturia Beast, that card can pretty much beat decks like Dark World, Prophecy, even Fire Fist if you drop it early enough by itself, because your opponent can never get their engine started. I mean, it just basically says no to everything that they want to do. You know, you've got Naturia Landois, which can lock out your opponent from dropping Gores. It can facilitate your OTKs, and a deck like Karakuri, I mean, you can basically trip into an OTK, especially if you're running limiter removal. So I feel like Karakuri is definitely a sleeper. Now, I'm obviously going to pick the field over Mermail Atlantean, but I've gone through the gauntlet, which basically begs the question, Capital G, which effing deck are you picking to win this event? Shut up and tell us. The deck that I'm picking to take this event is Prophecy, and I'll be the first to admit this is a little bit of picking with my heart over my head, but I always felt like Prophecy is an undervalued deck. And quite frankly, Prophecy players out there, you should feel a little disrespected and you should have a chip on your shoulder, because I hear way too many players talking and rambling about this is only Spellbook Judgment Day and that's the only thing that makes this deck good. And there's a reason why I put this deck in my top 5, even though Spellbook Judgment Day wasn't out, because I've always felt like Prophecy was a very good deck. Obviously, the past YCS showings have never been that great. That's why I made that video, why you know top YCS, Prophecy. But I feel like the deck is due a really good showing. You know, my biggest concern when you have the head-to-head matchup of Mermail and Prophecy is, can the Prophecy player actually play good defense? Because you are extremely susceptible to an OTK, and from what I hear, Deep Sea Diva is a serious problem for Prophecy players because it's one of the cards that causes those OTKs, especially when you start poking with Marksman and stuff like that. But, you know, I feel like Prophecy players are going to be ready. They're going to have their threatening roars and stuff like that. They're going to be anticipating seeing that matchup. It can be dicey, but I feel like Prophecy is one of those decks like Dark World. Once it gets rolling, I mean, it's basically GG, because you're not going to catch up with it. You know, cards like the Spellbook Tower, they just make +1/+1/+1 every single turn. High Priestess is a serious bad bitch. My Uncle Delk Dad said that, and I think that it's the deck's time. You know, it's undervalued, and I think it's going to have a very strong showing. I'm picking with my heart here. I'm picking Prophecy to win this entire event. So let me know what you guys think are going to be some of the top decks at YCS Austin. If you've got any thoughts on the event, maybe some tech cards that you think people should look out for, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Click that like button. It helps me facilitate this video to people who may not have seen it yet. And if you haven't subscribed, maybe this is the video that did it for you. Take care, and remember to play a children's card game like a boss. Subscribing makes life happy.